Go inside the Crimson Tide. Tider Insider TV with Rodney Orr and Gary Harris.
Those sports cliches we like to use so often, but it really was a tale of two halves for Alabama against Vanderbilt. The Tide looked like a different team following the intermission. Nick Saban says this should be a learning experience for his football team.
I think this is probably a pretty good example of how average you can be when you don't do things the way you need to do them, finish plays, finish blocks, make mental errors, don't tackle well.
Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome into Tider Insider TV alongside Rodney Orr from TiderInsider.com. I'm Gary Harris. Tider Insider is presented each and every week by Buffalo Rock, and, you know, I always open the Pepsi, Rodney. Well, that sound, I just love it. But somebody told me last night when I was speaking to the quarterback club, Tuscaloosa Quarterback Club, they said, you always open it, but you never take a drink. I promised them I would do that tonight.
Well, what about the diet?
Very, very good. Well,
diet.
Every Tuesday night, we're going to have to take a little break from the diet to get in a nice ice-cold Pepsi. Unless...
No, I meant the diet drink.
Oh, well, you know, we have to pick up some Diet Pepsis, right. I guess. Yeah, because people have pointed that out, too. Well, we're not going to talk anymore, as much as we love Buffalo Rock, about Pepsi. We're going to get on to the business at hand. You know, Vanderbilt was really the first of a three-game stretch before Alabama gets to the one that everybody's waiting on, LSU. Now, looking ahead is something you always worry about, and it really seems to be the Tide's biggest challenge is just their own mental makeup to be able to focus. Now Vanderbilt's out of the way on Ole Miss and then Tennessee before getting to LSU. Obviously, Rodney, that game is looming. Everybody knows it. But like Gene Stallings used to say, you don't think these games are big, just lose one of them. To make that LSU game everything everybody wants it to be, Alabama's got to continue to take care of business.
No question. And I know that there were some people who were disappointed in the first half yesterday, last Saturday night as they were watching. But at the same time, you know, Alabama's played some emotional games. They beat a very, very good Arkansas team. Beat a Florida team that was undefeated at the time down in the swamp. So those were emotional games. And, you know, sometimes you just don't play with that same emotion. Again, we talked last week about homecoming, it being homecoming and possibly that being a distraction. It seems like every year, you know, to be honest with you, there's many times on homecoming that Alabama doesn't quite play up to par. And, you know, they didn't in the first half of this game, but the good news is they came out and lined up and ran the football in the second half.
Yeah, you know, you got a pretty good football team when people are a little disappointed. The head coach was disappointed. Nick Saban said the first half, hey, we didn't get it done, but you win 34-0 over an SEC opponent that is a much improved football team. Let's say this about Vanderbilt. You and I talked about it in the press box. Fundamentally sound. I thought they tackled as well as anybody Alabama had played. James Franklin's doing a good job. So that was a pretty good football team. And in the second half, Alabama manhandled them.
Yeah, and I thought they were well coached, Gary. Maybe one of the better coached Vanderbilt teams I've seen in a long time, to be quite honest with you. I thought they were really crisp and executed really well on offense, you know, and that's been a struggle for Vanderbilt through the years. Alabama then again on the other side, defensively, is somewhat uncharacteristic of this defense thus far. Missed a lot of tackles in the first half, but again, they picked things up in the second half.
And for the third straight game, Alabama punished the starting quarterback. Tyler Wilson, to his credit, hung in and took the hits. Didn't leave the game, but they knocked out John Brantley. They knocked out Larry Smith. In fact, talked to a friend of mine today who's in the coaching profession. Let's just say that. I won't give him away. But he said a friend of his is on the staff at Arkansas, and that friend told him that Tyler Wilson, the day after the Alabama game, told the coaches he felt like he needed a whole body MRI. That's how sore he was. Of course, that's a testament to how tough he is. He came back against A&M, threw for 500 yards. But Alabama has really been hard on quarterbacks.
Yeah, they have. If you remember in '92, how many quarterbacks did they knock out? It was several. This defense playing the same way. As Gary said, they have been very, very hard on quarterbacks, and I thought the kid that came in for Vanderbilt, Rogers, did a really good job coming off the bench, though. I thought he performed well.
He did. Next up, Ole Miss in Oxford, and of course the storyline surrounding the Ole Miss program is the head coach, Houston Nutt. Rodney, do you think this might be the last time that Alabama faces a Houston Nutt-coached Ole Miss squad?
Could. There's certainly a lot of pressure on Houston Nutt. Again, I won't get into all that, but I think that, when you look at this, Gary, this is kind of a game. If Houston Nutt ever has a game when his back's to the wall, this is that kind of game where he pulls it out. He's done it before. Again, I'm not saying I expect that, but I think you have to be very careful with the Houston Nutt team, especially that they did have a bye week.
Yeah, and let's be honest, they were awful early in the year offensively. I mean, terrible. You know, tried Brunetti at quarterback, tried Stout. But against Fresno State 2 weeks ago, they put in Randall Mackey, the junior college player, very athletic quarterback, scored 38 points against Fresno. Granted, Fresno's not an SEC team, but now with a bye week. So as you said, they'll have some tricks in place, much like Vanderbilt did, some things that Alabama hasn't seen on film. And let's be honest about something else. This could be a season maker for Ole Miss. I mean, they're gonna give Alabama their best shot.
Well, and you mentioned the quarterback situation, Gary. To be honest with you, Randall Mackey would have been the starter from the opener had he not run afoul of the law and had to sit out early on. So now he's come back. He's doing pretty well in the game against Fresno State. It elevated him to the start in this game. And, hey, Ole Miss has talented players. They have a big offensive line. Bobby Massey's a guy that has played a lot, and they've got a talented offensive line. Brandon Bolden's a big, strong running back who's played against Alabama for a couple of years now. He's finally getting healthy. Scott is a speed back that they have that can break a big play. Nick Brazel's a freshman that's really got big play potential on the offensive side of the ball. So they have some guys in the special teams that can return kicks. Defensively, you know, they've struggled a little bit up front. So that's been their biggest drawback. Kentrell Lockett, one of their better players, defensive lineman, coming off that surgery.
Slowed.
It's really been slowed. So I think that's hurt them a lot defensively.
Well, we're halfway through the season. Alabama's 6-0, so it's a good opportunity to kind of evaluate some of the areas that were preseason question marks, and none were bigger than the quarterback position. Alabama went into the season with a battle at quarterback between A.J. McCarron and Phillip Sims. McCarron quickly established himself as the starter. And, Rodney, we see his numbers there. Just talk about his performance so far.
Well, I think, you know, when you look at them there, Gary's completing 65% of his passes. Good thing is, what has he done? 2 interceptions, 8 touchdowns. Of course, 4 of those came in the last game. Hey, that could be a big confidence builder. I'll tell you one thing, you have to have confidence in your receivers, Gary. Obviously, Marquise Mays has done an outstanding job with like 31 catches so far this season. But, you know, having a guy go up and make a catch for you, that's really big, and having that confidence that you can put it up there. And I think we're kind of seeing the Alabama passing game kind of coming around a little bit.
Yeah, both those interceptions came in the season opener against Kent State, as you see on your graphic. Speaking of the wide receivers, that was a question mark. No Julio Jones, but I tell you what, Rodney, as you alluded to, they picked it up as a group. Marquise Mays is having an all-SEC type season, doing everything. And now with Hanks back, and, you know, we've seen flashes from Kenny Bell and Norwood, and then this past game, and there's the freshman Christian Jones. This past game, DeAndrew White really had a nice game. This is a solid group right now.
Well, and I think, you know, we talked about it in the preseason, how DeAndrew White, redshirt freshman from Texas, had an opportunity to really step up, thought he was going to be a really good player. He's starting to step up. There you see him make a catch. It was a big-time catch for a touchdown. He had another one earlier in the game. So I think you're going to start seeing his confidence. He's a physical guy, Gary. He's got a little bit of size to him. We saw his ability to go up and make a play, and his speed. I mean, I think as you see him gain confidence, you're going to see him become a really strong, deep threat. And I think A.J. connecting on that long ball could help his confidence because, you know, we know that A.J. had struggled some throwing the long ball.
Andrew White might could take you in the 40.
Possibly.
It'd be close.
Possibly.
But I think
no, I know he can't take you, though.
No, because I'm going to run 15 yards. He's going to run 40. That's the catch. Well, still to come on TITV, we'll make predictions for the Ole Miss game coming up later on. But where does Alabama's Trent Richardson stand among the Heisman voters? We'll take a look at that. And LSU's punter learned the hard way about the new rule regarding taunting. What does Nick Saban think about that rule? We'll discuss, and the coach will tell us. And also your phone calls and emails on the way. You can reach us at 205-348-WVUA. That's 348-9882. Or email us, TITV@WVUATV.com. But up next, several former UA golfers were back in Tuscaloosa this weekend. We'll tell you how they were golfing for a good cause, and I mean a really good cause. Stay tuned. You're watching the show that takes you inside the Crimson Tide. Tider Insider TV, presented by Buffalo Rock. This was the scene Monday at the Indian Hills Country Club. Close to 20 professional golfers, many of whom play on the PGA Tour, were in town for the Tee It Up for Tuscaloosa benefit golf tournament. All proceeds are going to assist in tornado relief efforts. There was a pro-only shootout on Sunday. Former Crimson Tide golfers Dickie Pride and Jason Bone, along with former Duke golfer Kevin Strillman, were the tournament host. Strillman's wife, Courtney, grew up in Tuscaloosa. Now, the PGA prides itself on giving back, and this was a good cause, certainly, for them to prove they put their money where their mouth is.
we're really trying to do what we can from a golf standpoint to try to give back to the community. I mean, there's a lot of memories for me here. There's a lot of passion for a lot of other people here, and it's a tragedy what happened. But you know, when people come together,
we've got a lot of people we needed to help, buildings and schools and everything else. We've got a long way to go, but it's a great start.
I think this community, you know, again, we've never had anything like this hit Tuscaloosa. So I think everyone's really kind of banded together, and it's been incredible to see the support behind it.
It was on our heart to do something, and I said, let's call our friends out on tour, let's call some of my buddies, and let's see if we can put together something where we can raise some money to help some people out. And, you know, if it's one of those, if you build it, they'll come.
It's days like this that make you really proud to be part of golf, because you know, golf is unique in that it's a sport that brings people together. You can have a lot of fun, but you can also do a lot to help a lot of people.
You know, it is a little tough. There's a big rivalry between Auburn and Alabama, and people think there's almost a hate relationship going on with that. But for me, you know, just to help these folks here and to be from the state of Alabama and still live here, you know, it just gives me a lot of pride to come back and help these people out.
Ironically, I was on a plane that morning. It was about to get on a plane at 7 a.m. to come up here to play golf with Coach Stallings and Coach Saban. And my wife said, don't get on the airplane. There are going to be tornadoes there all day. And I don't know if it was a message from God, but she was right. And I came back 3 days later and just was shocked at the devastation, the loss of life.
Quite a day out there on Monday and Sunday, too, for that matter, and some good work being done. Well, up next, what does Nick Saban think about the no taunting policy in college football? And also ahead, if the Heisman ballots were due today, where would Trent Richardson finish in the voting? Plus, we'll get to your phone calls and emails as well. This is Tider Insider TV on WVUA.